I was just a little girl when I attended the school taught by Eliza Angel. The little schoolhouse was a one-roomed adobe building. There was a sheet iron stove to heat it in the winter. No desks, but each child had its own books and a slate. As I remember, we used McGuffey's readers, Ray's arithmetic, and I believe the geography was Monteith's. The teacher would hand out strips of cardboard with ordinary figures or Roman numerals, also the letters of the alphabet written on them. We would copy them on our slates. The advanced students would copy such mottos as many birds of many kinds, many men of many minds. There was a pail of water with a dipper in it. The older girls would take turns, 2 and 3 at a time, at staying after school and sweeping and dusting the room ready for the next morning. Amy Adams Thomas.
Just 3 months after the Saints arrived in the Salt Lake Valley, the first school was established. 17-year-old Mary Jane Dilworth was set apart by Brigham Young and began teaching in an old military tent in the center of the fort.
The teacher had the dignity of an old camp stool for a seat, but the 9 pupils had to be contented with logs. Some of the pupils had slates and pencils, and others had pens and paper. But those who had neither took charcoal and wrote on smooth logs or the dried bark of the white mountain birch. Clarissa Young Spencer.
Father Lemon was a lame man and could not walk straight. Some boys were playing one day in the fort, and I heard them mocking at him and call him Old Crookback. This grieved me very much. The Spirit came upon me and told me I should keep a school for small children and teach them the principles of truth. So I sought Brother Brigham Young and asked him what I should do, and he said, "Keep the school, and you shall be blessed." I felt thankful to the Lord for this. So on the 14th of February, I began to teach the little school. Elizabeth Terry Heward.
One day I was taking from the loom a piece of cloth that I had woven for Brother Jeffries. It had been made from nappy yarn, and I told him it did not reflect credit on the weaver. "Oh well," he said, "'twill soon be worn out, and then my nappy cloth and weaver's work will be forgotten. And the weaver, too, will wear out and be forgotten, and no one will know that she wove." The words fell on me solemn-like and prophetic, and I pondered on them deeply. In my dilemma, I went to McCarty. I told him what Brother Jeffries had said to me and asked, what could I do that my work and myself would not be forgotten? He said, "You might plant. Plant in the minds of men. Every wholesome thought you succeed in planting in the mind of a little child even will grow and bear eternal fruit." Sometime after, I passed a group of boys who had stolen out of school. I said to the boys, "If I were your teacher, I'd be sorry to have you out of school." "If you're sorry for us," they said, "why don't you teach us? We wouldn't stay out of school if you taught us." "I wish I knew enough to teach you," I said, "and I'd see whether you would." One bright little fellow spoke up and said, "I should think you'd teach us what you do know." Here was a new thought. There were many children who knew less than I. Why not give the little I had if I could not give much? And I resolved that henceforth I would spread light into the darkened chambers. I decided to become a teacher. Martha Cragen Cox.
At the age of 16, Lucinda Dalton began teaching in her father's newly opened private school in Beaver, Utah. As she taught the older children, she soon became aware of the defects in her own education.
It is most humiliating to see boys and girls, yet in their teens, acquire greater proficiency than all my tedious years of self-culture have enabled me to gain. But I'm glad they're not limited in my meager opportunities, and I console myself for all that I lack with the hope and determination that my children shall have a large part of that which I sought but never found. In hopes that Zion would increase in knowledge, light, and power, I taught the rising generation in weeks or months the few skills I learned through years of effort. Lucinda Dalton.